Pretty interesting article here by Glenn Greenwald on his Substack website or page. I'll link it down below so you can check it out as well, because I'm not going to read it in its entirety. It's a bit long. Instagram is using false fact-checking to protect Joe Biden's crime record from criticism. Not super surprising. Frankly, we've seen a lot of instances of these big tech companies censoring free speech in a lot of ways, whether that's Facebook, which owns Instagram, or Twitter, or even Zoom, not allowing certain groups, people, for example, speaking up about, Palestinian rights and how they're being violated by the, Israeli government, etc. Long-standing and vehement criticism of Joe Biden is that legislation he championed is centered in the 1980s and 90s, particularly his crime bill in 94, contributed to the mass incarceration of Americans generally and African Americans specifically. I would say people of color more broadly, honestly. And then so he just brings up examples of, Cory Booker pointing out Biden's horrible record, even Kamala Harris, who during the primary race said that Biden's crime bill, 94 crime bill, it did contribute to mass incarceration in our country. Bill Clinton even, said it was a problem. There's Booker, Kamala's piece, Michelle Alexander, author of that, The New Jim Crow. It's a great book. Argued that Hillary did not deserve the votes of black people due to her and her husband's support for numerous bills, including the 94 crime bill. Cornel West said in 2019, when Biden says the 94 crime bill didn't contribute to mass incarceration, tell him he's got to get off his symbolic crack pipe. Oh, man. Cornel, Brother West, he's a treasure for sure. As first noted on Monday by former Sanders campaign organizer Ben Moore, Instagram publicly denounced as false a post on Sunday by left-wing artist and frequent Biden critic Brad Trommel, who has more than 107,000 followers on that platform. Trommel's post said nothing more than what Biden's chosen running mate Kamala Harris has said herself, as well as numerous mainstream media outlets and countless criminal justice reform advocates have long maintained. Trommel's posted a 94 photo of smiling, mullet-sporting Biden, which we'll get to that picture later. It's glorious. Standing next to then President Bill Clinton. The photo contained this caption: "Find someone that looks at you the way Biden looked at Clinton after signed Biden's crime bill into law, bringing mass incarceration into black Americans." This was the same photo and caption which an anonymous Trump supporter under the name Real Tina 40 first posted back in June. Shortly after Trommel posted this on Sunday, Instagram appended a note in red letters, appended kind of, like appendices, with a warning sign that read, "Learn why fact checkers have indicated that this is false." That was followed by a note plastered over Trommel's original post with the title "False," and which claimed independent fact checkers say this information has no basis in fact. Same thing was done by Instagram to Real Tina 40, original June post. So there's what Brad Trommel posted. There's Biden with his glorious mullet. I mean, honestly, how can you have a mullet and be such a, racist little asshole? I feel like people who have mullets should be very kind and understanding folks, but that's definitely not the case with Biden back then or now. But kudos for that mullet. That is pretty amazing. This is not the first time Trommel has been censored by Instagram for posting criticism. Biden, in response to questions, he told me he first earned the false label and posted a meme in April. Let's see if we can get to that. It's probably going to make me sign in. Oh, maybe not. Oh, it was removed, so we don't get to see what it was. Which created that mocked Biden's campaign messaging. Instagram retaliation happened after the Biden campaign loudly complained about Tramel's satirical ad. Biden campaign operatives falsely blamed the Trump campaign for having created it and then induced Twitter to censor. I mean, Jesus Christ. As Tramel told me, here you can see Dems using the Russia-tinged cover of disinformation as a way to discredit any and all criticism of Biden found on social media. When Tramel reposted the meme last month with the clear notation that it was satirical, Instagram began shadow banning him, severely limiting the reach of his posts. It was those events, all involving Tramel's criticism of Biden from the left, that caused Instagram to heavily scrutinize his postings, accumulating in its blurring of his latest post with a false label that contained these well-documented criticisms of Biden's crime bill. I mean, again, it's just another really disingenuous attack on criticizing Biden from the left. He was obviously a huge supporter of that crime bill, and if we're being honest, there's no way you can argue that that has not contributed a great deal to the mass incarceration epidemic that we have in the United States currently. Only thing that is demonstrably false here is Instagram's Biden shielding assertion that there is a fact-checking consensus that this criticism of Biden's 94 crime bill is false. It is true that one media outlet, USA Today, fact-checked the identical claim posted back in June by an anonymous Instagram user and concluded that our research finds that while the crime bill did increase the prison population in states, it did not bring about a mass incarceration relative to earlier years. What? But that article also concluded, even while admitting that Biden's crime bill did increase the prison population in states, then that's leading to mass incarceration, obviously. And any increase in the overall prison population will automatically translate into a larger number of black inmates. The article's own premises thus bolster not the claim issue. Exactly. It's like they're trying to, jump through hoops to make that their fact-checking claim stick of it being false, when obviously it wasn't. But numerous other media outlets and fact-checking organizations, far more than just one, concluded the opposite, namely that there is at least a reasonable and substantial basis for these claims about Biden's bill. Political rate is half true. Did not generate mass incarceration, noting that the bill provided funds to states on the condition they forced prisoners to serve longer sentences, and that bolstered a tough on crime bill, led to higher incarceration rates. Washington Post, two Pinocchios, Post. There are many factors that contributed, but few dispute the crime bill was a contributor. Exactly, it clearly was. Biden so now misses the broader impact that federal policy can have on the way that states incarcerate, including the influence of federal money, concluding that the view that the 94 crime bill is a significant factor in mass incarceration, at the very least debatable. MSNBC flatly stated, though the bill is not the root cause of mass incarceration, it was the most high-profile legislation to increase the number of people behind bars, according to Brennan Center analysis in 2016. Fact-checking Senator Booker's accusation against Biden, The Atlantic said, it is true that the bill, which extended the death penalty to 16 years, clearly abolished the death penalty, abolished, the prison system as we know it for sure as well. Stiffened sentences, offered states strong financial incentives for building new prisons, and banned a range of assault weapons, helped lead to the wave of mass incarceration that resulted in the United States accounting for 25% of the world's prison population. We have around 4 or 5% of the world's population. It's the land of the free, right? And a couple other sites. On Monday, the New York Post sought comment from Facebook about Instagram's false label. The tech giant, in the words of the paper, said that Instagram will end its censorship unless USA Today changes its assessment. So why? They're obviously just basing this off of, we found this, we were able to cherry pick this one news source, this USA Today, and they claimed it was false. So we're just sticking with that and ignoring all these other news outlets who said it was at least debatable, or what they were arguing was at least half correct or accurate. Again, and they're just doing it because they're cozy with the Democratic establishment, the Democratic Party elites, and they don't like anybody calling out Biden's horrible record, especially when it comes to criminal injustice. Yet the Post, long an advocate for tough on crime legislation, itself echoed virtually every other media outlet by noting that whether Biden's law contributed to mass incarceration is a matter of debate. Indeed, from what I can tell, USA Today is the only prominent media outlet of all the ones which fact-check this issue to conclude that claim about Biden's bill is false. So again, Facebook, who owns Instagram, is cherry-picking the USA Today because it's the only one to conclude that claim about Biden's bill as being false, when all these other ones say it's at the very least, at least debatable. There's no, settled consensus on the matter. The overwhelming consensus of fact checkers and experts, which I was just talking about, is that the 94 crime bill at the very least contributed to mass incarceration generally and of African Americans specifically, and that magnitude of that role is debatable. But Instagram has closed this debate, at least on its platform. They have announced that the claims about Biden's 94 crime bill is expressed by not only Brad Trammell, but also Kamala Harris, Bill Clinton, Cory Booker, Cornel West, the Brennan Center, and countless others have been proven false. Pretty interesting. Definitely, again, they have a very selective way about fact-checking, and you could tell their political bias is clear. They don't want anybody criticizing Biden from the left. They'd probably be okay if it was coming from the right, but this wasn't. This episode demonstrates two crucial facts. The first is that what is so often passed off as quasi-scientific opinion-free fact-checking are instead extremely tendentious, subjective, and highly debatable opinions. That's how Instagram can cherry-pick exactly the conclusion of USA Today and treat it as if it is gospel, even though numerous other outlets, mainstream politicians, and Biden's own party and criminal justice experts reached a radically different conclusion. Fact-checking, in theory, has journalistic value, but is often nothing more than a branding tactic for media outlets to disguise their highly subjective pronouncements as unchallengeable truth. Second, more important point is that Silicon Valley giants lack any competency to determine the truth or falsity of political claims, even when they act with the best of motives. Who at Instagram decided to exactly rely on USA Today claims while ignoring all the conflicting conclusions from other outlets and experts, and who decided how to apply that conclusion to the post at issue? And why did USA Today randomly decide to subject an anti-Biden meme about his crime bill from the account of a relatively obscure anonymous Trump supporter, but ignore similar statements coming from Senator Harris and Booker and Bill Clinton, thus handing Instagram an excuse to label any similar views as false and without any basis? Why are tech companies trying to officiate political debates this way? Because they clearly see as them having, a vested interest. So pretty interesting stuff here. I'll link there's a few more paragraphs I didn't read, so I'll link it down below. But again, not super surprising. We've seen these huge, massive tech companies and platforms limiting speech, particularly, speech on the left more broadly, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Zoom, other social media platforms that I don't use and can't think of right now. So pretty disturbing, but not surprising, unfortunately. Leave your comments down below. Subscribe for more content. Peace.